Hello and welcome from Buenos Aires, Argentina to this episode of Crossing Borders with Nathan Lustig, where Nate has conversations with entrepreneurs doing business across borders and the people who support them, with a focus on those that have some connection to Latin America. My name is Josefina Dominguez and I am an editor for Latimlist, a proud sponsor of the Crossing Borders podcast. Sign up for our weekly updates on latimlist.com to get a summary of the week's biggest headlines in Latin American tech news. Nate's guest today is Álvaro Silberstein, co-founder and CEO of Wheel the World, a travel platform that is empowering people with disabilities by making travel experiences around the world more inclusive and accessible. They talk about how a trip with friends to Torres del Paine in Chile motivated Álvaro to start Wheel the World and what the user experience is like for people with disabilities without their solution. They also discuss the startup's fundraising process, their participation in several accelerators, including their most recent milestone, going through the Booking.com accelerator, and how they responded to the COVID-19 pandemic when traveling has been paused or significantly reduced in most places. We hope you enjoy this conversation with Álvaro Silberstein.
Hey Álvaro, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being willing to do it.
Hey Nathan, thank you very much for the invitation. Happy to talk today with you.
Where are you in the world today?
Today I'm in my hometown, Santiago de Chile, where I grew up, where I lived almost all my life, and locked down in my apartment. Hopefully, starting to go out a little bit more when the lockdowns start to release.
Yeah, hopefully it ends soon.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what you're working on. What's Wheel the World?
Yeah, so Wheel the World is a travel startup. We have the purpose of making the world accessible. And we are working on a travel platform for people with disabilities to find and book accessible travel experiences, including places to stay, things to do. We are raising the information in detail of accessibility of travel destinations, so we can partner with the operators and offer them through Go Wheel the World, so people with disabilities can find and book them.
Talk a little bit about what the world is like without you. If someone with a disability wants to book an excursion or a vacation somewhere, what's the user experience without Wheel the World, and then compare it to with you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So normally what people do when they want to plan a vacation, they go online and they look for the destination to find like travel services, right? Like places to stay or things to do. Let's go in details into accommodations. And once you go online, search on Google for the destination, you pick the platforms that offer you to book these hotels or vacation rentals. Normally, the first in the line is Booking.com or Airbnb, right? And you end up looking for a place on accommodation, and you can make a decision regarding price, regarding location, regarding what you like, etc. Right? I have a disability, and since I had it, today I'm 35 years old, and I move in a wheelchair since I'm 18. This is not the case, because first, when you go online and when you look for accessible offer online, there's not a entity, there's not a service that allows you to find what's accessible for you. So you end up looking it as anyone else through Booking.com or Airbnb, and you can see eventually that what they say that it's accessible through their filters, that it's only a filter that is something is accessible or not, is actually not credible, right? It's not reliable that what they offer that is accessible is actually accessible. And once you book it, because you rely on something, or you can just want to have the bet, once you get to that travel service, you realize that actually it wasn't accessible as these services said that they were. So that's why we came up with Wheel the World, to focus on the necessities and the needs of someone with a disability when they want to travel. Our platform, we are building a user experience totally focused on showing how accessible are the travel services, given that's accommodations or activities. And we are raising this information in detail, because disabilities it's not white or black. There are different kinds of disabilities, there are different accessibility needs. So we are raising the information of travel services, the information of accessibility in detail, so we can offer these services with the right information for the user so they can make a purchase decision with knowledge. And also our customer service is focused on accessibility needs and disabilities. Booking.com, Airbnb, Expedia, around 30% of their employees are customer service. And also they don't know about, of course, disabilities and accessibility. So that's also one of the value propositions that we're bringing to our users.
And did you always know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, or was this something that came up in your work journey?
I come from a family that pretty much everyone is an entrepreneur. My grandfather, he owned his own business, he built his factory, and also my father was part of that family business. My brothers, I am the youngest of three brothers, they are all entrepreneurs, also my cousins. So I grew up in a family that being an entrepreneur wasn't something crazy, wasn't something like different. And I don't know if it was given that my family had this characteristic, but also my friends, the people that I was involved with, they always look myself as someone that eventually would do something new or something, or being an entrepreneur. And when I end up in the university, I did my first own project. It was a fantasy league, fantasy soccer platform to implement in companies so employees can bet for matches in World Cups and Copa Americas. And that was a project. It wasn't like a business itself, but I earned some money around that. And that was the moment that I say, oh, I actually enjoy building new things, and I want to build my career around entrepreneurship. I ended up going into a few years of being an employee in a management consultant firm where I learned a lot, but I realized that wasn't my thing. And I decided to live abroad and to move to the US. I get a scholarship to do my master's in Berkeley, in UC Berkeley. And my application to UC Berkeley was exactly, I want to build a solution that will help people with disabilities to live better. That was my application. And I actually wanted to move to Berkeley and study there because all the disability rights movement in the US started in Berkeley, and I wanted to be involved in that environment. And there I tried to start my first startup related to solve problems to this specific segment of people. That was, I wanted to do kind of an Uber for people with disabilities to find assistance, some classmates. And while doing that, I ended up pursuing in the opportunity of Will the World. That sounds more fun, a better opportunity and better aligned with what I was capable of doing. So I would say that my journey to become an entrepreneur was since very young.
And when you were first getting started with Wheel the World, why this business rather than any other business that you could have started?
Because I saw that there was a big opportunity and there was a story around, right? Living in the US, it was easier for me to explore places. And my dream since a kid was always visiting in Chile, Torres del Paine, in Patagonia. And speaking with a friend, with one of my best friends that today is my co-founder, his name is Camilo. We decided to okay, let's figure out and see how we could plan a trip to Torres del Paine in Patagonia with other three friends. We realized that it was really hard, that nobody else in a wheelchair did the trip that we wanted to do to complete the W trek in Patagonia. And we started talking with operators, and we realized that it was very hard to find what were the accessible accommodations to stay, how we will move around. We needed a special equipment there to go around the park. So we decided to transform this trip into a project, saying, let's do the first trip ever of a wheelchair user to Torres del Paine, with the ambitions to have a lot of fun, of course, and do this trip, but also to then allow other people to repeat it. Because we said, let's document the trip, let's rest the information on how to plan it, and then we post it online and people can book it and can do it themselves. We did it, the trip was amazing for me, for my friends, and we went with a friend that did some cool videos and cool pictures around the trip. So it went pretty viral, specifically in Chile and also in California. And we started receiving a lot of requests of people saying, oh, this is so cool. I also have a disability as Álvaro. I want to repeat this trip. And me and Camilo started organizing this trip to other people, people from Punta Arenas, that is the closest city to Torres del Paine, to people from San Francisco, California, that they wanted to go all around the world to experience this. We, in around 5 months, we achieved to organize this trip to around 50 people, plus their families and friends. And then is when we decided to co-found the Wheel the World, looking that we achieved in a few months to make 50 people explore the end of the world. And we said, okay, let's replicate this in other places and allow more people to visit places and explore destinations with the accessibility that they need. And long story short, today we, through gowheeltheworld.com, we offer places to stay and tours in 40 destinations in 8 countries. We have had already 1,500 clients. We have achieved $1.2 million in revenues. We have a community of 60,000 people that supports our mission of making the world accessible. And our vision is to become the best solution for people with disabilities to travel.
Yeah, and we'll put in the show notes, we'll put some of those videos and photos. I remember seeing that and being like, wow, this is awesome. So I remember seeing it when it came out. It's really an inspiring story.
Thank you. Yes, I can send you the video. The coolest video, I think, that is one of Mark Zuckerberg, like sharing what's Will the World. I think that one people like it.
And so when you started after getting the one destination, and what was the inflection point to get it to be to the business that it is, or we'll say was before COVID, and then we'll talk about COVID in a second here.
So it has been a transition, right, in terms of in our business model, in how we make revenues. First, we had the ambition to replicate what we did in Torres del Paine in other destinations in Latin America that were pretty tough, and to be honest, were places that I dreamed to visit that I couldn't. So we kind of like raised money through brands and also local operators to create a travel experience in these destinations. This was Torres del Paine, of course, I mentioned already that, Easter Island, Oaxaca in Mexico, Machu Picchu, and San Pedro de Atacama specifically. And we achieved to fundraise this creation of these experiences, partnering with these operators, with tour operators that become more accessible. And we offer these trips later online through our platform. And while we started gaining more traction and making more people to travel, we realized that once we add a new destination, there was more people interested in traveling through gowheeltheworld.com. And not only that, is that people many times were requesting us to not go to the craziest destinations, but also allow them to find accommodations or things to do that were accessible in more mainstream destinations. That says New York or Santiago de Chile or Buenos Aires, places that still people struggle to find accessibility in order to travel. So we kind of switch the model into not only we commit and create these accessible experiences, but also remotely raise the information about what's accessible, specifically in terms of places to stay and also things to do. So we can remotely raise the information of what's accessible, so we can offer it online and not only offer these experiences that involved a whole tour with everything included, but also specific products that were the accommodations and also the activities.
And what was fundraising like for this business?
At first, it was really tough because investors and accelerators and the different mechanisms that you have in Latin America to raise the first dollars, right? They saw it as a business that was a little market, right? And we ended up making the research showing our traction that there's a lot of people with disabilities in the world, an unmet business, right? An unmet market. Once we had more traction and once we build a brand that with this concept of making people with disabilities explore the unexplored, things started to get better and faster. And actually, our first investors were people that were angel investors that they were involved with people with disabilities at some point, and they saw the value of what we were willing to build. And later, we won some accelerator programs, Startup Chile, also we were part of Google Launchpad. But the one that make us a click in terms of our business model, in terms of the one that give us the made us understood the industry of travel and how we could make an impact and how we could make a disruptive solution for people with disabilities was that we were part of Booking.com accelerator program. That every year they select 10 startups from different places of the world, and we were part of that on 2018, and that was like a kind of a important milestone of our business and allow us to start growing faster. And we just closed our seed round of investment. The lead investor is the Clean Fund of Fundación Chile with Plug and Play. Also, there's some involvement of angel investors from California. The CEO of YouTube is an investor of us in this round. And we envision to, for the next 2 years, position Will the World in the most important travel destinations, develop the systems to raise the information of accessibility in detail, achieve to have 10,000 users per year by 2021. And at that point, we will be in a good position to raise our Series A and go for the scaling part of our business.
Are there any questions that investors asked you when you were raising that you think they wouldn't have asked a non-disabled founder?
To be honest, I don't think so. Many times, Camilo was the one pitching Will the World. Our team is half based in California, half based here, and he's now there, and I'm down here. I would say that no. Maybe the reason that I am someone with a disability and Camilo is someone that is related to someone with a disability, right? Because we are friends since we are 5 years old. They rely that we know very well our user and we know very well the problem that we want to solve, right? Maybe if I would not have a disability, they will be more not that confident to rely on us that we are the right people to solve this problem, right? And we have done plenty of research and we are very close to our users, so we also like kind of share that. But I believe that having the problem, being part of the users that have the problem that we are willing to solve, it's a benefit as an entrepreneur.
No, it definitely is, and I'm glad you didn't have any bad experiences raising. That's great to hear.
Yeah,
and
I have some good funny comments. For example, we had a conversation with a fund in the Middle East because we were very close to the organization of the World Cup in Qatar, and basically they pay us to raise the information of accessibility there and to promote Qatar as an accessible destination towards the World Cup. And we had the chance to connect with investors there then. And one of them, a comment that was funny was that one of them said, "Oh, this is impressive. It's amazing what you have done. And what it's impressed me the most is that you guys are from Latin America and you have done all these great things being from there." And it was very funny to hear that. Of course, we laugh and we didn't say anything, but it was funny. And we definitely believe that we are the best solution in the market to solve the problem worldwide in terms of accessible travel. We believe that, and we are proud to be doing this from Latin America to the world.
No, that does happen with people who don't know LATAM that well. You get people saying, "Wow, I didn't know you could do something innovative from there."
Yes.
And so COVID is obviously a tough spot for a tourism business. How have you reacted to that, and how do you see things going forward?
Yes, it has been really tough. It's totally unexpected. I was actually in March in Europe working with big operators there in order to build our inventory there in Europe and Spain, France, and UK. And my trip to Europe was planned to be like 1.5 months. I ended up staying there like just 5 days. So that unexpected was. And we were having like good growth of revenues, growing every month. And since March, we've not been having any relevant revenues. Luckily, we had cash to survive, to keep our team. We commit, all of us, we are 14 people today, to lower our salaries around 40%, and everyone in the team commit to that, which was amazing. And it was great from as an entrepreneur to see that commitment of the whole team. And we've been focusing in our systems. We believe that travel and exploring the world soon would be even more important than before COVID, because one of the things that we've been locked from has been enjoying the world, exploring, going into places. So we've been focusing 100% on developing our systems in order to raise accessibility, and also into the new version of our platform that we are going to launch in September, and of course not spending in any marketing, because today everything is locked down and not many people are traveling. What we have seen is that, especially in the North Hemisphere, in Asia, also in Europe, things are starting to reactivate, and we envision that in 2021 the industry will have a recovery, and we will be more prepared than ever to impact more people and allow more people to go to more places.
If you could go back to when you first started the business, knowing everything you know today, what advice would you give yourself?
Focus even more in understanding your customers and understanding what's the value that you can, what's the best value that you can bring into them and into the industry. We have done many things at the same time. I said almost always yes to everything, and since 6 months ago, I would say, we are a young startup, just 2 years and a half. We started to say no to opportunities, to things, to projects that were out of our focus. I think that's the most difficult thing of an entrepreneur, on how to focus on the right things that brings more value, and that's the main thing that I would recommend to myself 2 years ago.
Do you have any books, blogs, podcasts, or documentaries you'd like to recommend to people, whether about startups or just life in general?
I saw a documentary yesterday that was really inspiring for me, of course. It's called Crip Camp. It's about all the disability movement in the 70s in the US, in Berkeley, and also New York. It's in Netflix. It's called Crip Camp. I really like, one of the things that we've been focused a lot in Will the World is our brand. We believe that we're a consumer brand. We are a B2C brand, and for that, we need to build the most amazing brand ever of focused in disabilities, until all the services related to disabilities are always very assistive. In Chile, we have the example of Teleton, right? You, Nathan, live there. In the US, all the services are related to care. The color is blue, that is the same color as hospitals. And we are trying to flip that out, right? And show Will the World as the most inspiring, and show people with disabilities that they can do anything, and even people that they don't have a disability, they love this, right? And that's kind of the brand that we've been building. And this was a long answer, but I love the documentary about the founder of I forgot this Hilfiger.
Tommy Hilfiger?
Yes, that's the documentary that I wanted to recommend. the document about the story of Tommy Hilfiger and how he built the brand. It's really cool. It's really cool how he never focused about the quality of the products, or he just focused on what he wanted as a brand to be shared, the values, and it was pretty interesting too. And I recommend that documentary for people that wants to build a business and build a brand.
What's next for the business over the next, say, 2 to 3 years?
We want to raise the information of accessibility in detail of the 100 most important travel destinations of the world, of accommodations and travel attractions, and allow by 2022 10,000 people per year traveling to these places, ready to raise our Series A to scale it to the rest of the world.
Well, it's an awesome story and a problem that definitely needs solving. So thanks for sharing the story with us. Really hope that you're able to do it, and that COVID doesn't last too long and people can get back to traveling and enjoying the world.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the conversation, and we do believe that the world it will start to come back again sooner than later.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of Crossing Borders with our guest Álvaro Silberstein, and thank you to Ángel Andraca for producing this podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with a friend and give us a rating on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's the best way to share what's going on in Latin America's ecosystem.